We are paid, that's all. We are God.
Hey guys, this is Naruto and Percy Jackson crossover. The part 2 of What If Naruto Was a Demigod. Naruto finds out a Sessert that blows him away. He's a half-blood. With his new friends he make a new name for himself and find what he truly ever wanted. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe and check the author in the description. Let's start. Chapter 7, Percy becomes the new Waterboy. After Percy got over his shock, he ran to Chiron's side along with Naruto and they started the tour of the camp. They passed the volleyball pit and several of the campers nudged each other. One pointed to the Minotaur horn Percy was carrying. They could hear them say things like, "It's them. How did that blonde guy do that thing with that log? Clarice is going to get him back for that." Naruto chuckled as Percy gave him a look and smirked. "You just had to show off, huh? Me? I have never been more insulted in all my life," Naruto said in a fake hurtful tone. As they walked that saw everyone doing activities and satyrs joining them in their activities with orange camp half-blood shirts and nothing else. "Hey!" Percy said aloud, "What is up there?" He said pointing the fourth story of the big house that they just left. Chiron looked to where Percy was pointing and his smile faded, making Naruto raise an eyebrow. "Just the attic. Somebody lives there." "No," he said with finality. "Not a single living thing." Naruto looked at the window to the attic oddly but thought nothing of it. "Come along boys," Chiron said, his light-hearted tone now a little forced. "Lots to see." They walked through the strawberry fields, where campers were picking bushels of berries while a satyr played a tune on a reed pipe. "I wonder how hard it is to learn how to play one or maybe a flute," Naruto idly thought, not listening to Chiron tell them that these strawberries pay for the camp's expenses. Percy did look a little sad though and Naruto somehow knew that he was wondering if Grover was okay. He was getting chewed out by a god though, so it was anyone's guess. "Grover won't get in too much trouble, will he?" Percy asked Chiron. "I mean, he was a good protector." "Really?" Chiron sighed. He shed his tweed jacket and draped it over his horse's back like a saddle. "Grover has big dreams, Percy. Perhaps bigger than are reasonable. To reach his goal, he must first demonstrate great courage by succeeding as a keeper, finding a new camper and bringing him safely to Half-Blood Hill. But he did that," Percy exclaimed. "Yeah, 2 campers nonetheless," Naruto grumbled. Now he was worried about their friend as well. "And there is nothing wrong with having big dreams. I'll help him out with his no matter what." "I might agree with you," Chiron said. "But it is not my place to judge. Dionysus and the Council of Cloven Elders must decide. I'm afraid they might not see this assignment as a success. After all, Grover lost you too in New York. Then there's the unfortunate, fate of your mother. And the fact that Grover was unconscious when Naruto brought him over the property line. The council might question whether this shows any courage on Grover's part. He helped get us here so I think that is good enough, even he is a bit weak, he is still a good guy." Naruto replied. "He'll get a second chance, won't he?" Percy asked. Chiron winced. "I'm afraid that was Grover's second chance, Percy. The council was not anxious to give him another, either, after what happened the first time, 5 years ago. Olympus knows, I advised him to wait longer before trying again. He's still so small for his age. 5 years? Oh, that must mean that he was with Talia since she mentioned him," pondered Naruto. "How old is he?" "Oh, 28. What? And he's in 6th grade? Well hey, I am 13 and I was in 6th grade too," Naruto said. "Yeah, that's not as big a deal, but, 28. Percy panicked as he looked back to Chiron. "Satyrs mature half as fast as humans, Percy. Grover has been the equivalent of a middle school student for the past 6 years. That's horrible," Percy said while Naruto shivered. He didn't like the idea of taking school over and over again. It would be a nightmare to him, that and no ramen. "Quite," Chiron agreed. "At any rate, Grover is a late bloomer, even by satyr standards, and not yet very accomplished at woodland magic. Alas, he was anxious to pursue his dream. Perhaps now he will find some other career. That's not fair, Percy said. What happened the first time? Was it really so bad? Chiron looked away quickly. Let's move along, shall we? The boys were not convinced but didn't want to anger the horseman. Chiron, Percy said. If the gods and Olympus and all that are real, yes, child. Does that mean the underworld is real, too? Chiron's expression darkened but it was gone in a split second. Yes, child. He paused, as if choosing his words carefully. There is a place where spirits go after death. But for now, until we know more. I would urge you to put that out of your mind. What do you mean, until we know more? Come, Percy. Let's see the woods. They wanted to know what he was talking about when they reached the edge of the forest that thought left them. Once they saw it, they thought the forest was huge. It took up at least a quarter of the valley, with trees so tall and thick, you could imagine nobody had been in there since the Native Americans. Naruto smiled a sad smile and said, feels like home. Percy looked at him and put a hand on his shoulder. Naruto had told him a lot of the world he used to live in. He didn't believe it at first because it sounded weird but so were his experiences so he just took it in stride. Chiron said interrupting them, the woods are stocked, if you care to try your luck, but go armed. Oh that sounds nice. Naruto deadpanned. Sounds just like the forest of death with the way you put it. Stocked with what? Percy asked, a little freaked out now. Naruto told him about the forest of death and he hoped Naruto was wrong. Armed with what? You'll see. Capture the flag is Friday night. Do you have your own sword and shield? My own. We just got here, how would we have those? Deadpanned Naruto. Chiron had the decency to look sheepish. No, he said. I don't suppose you do. I think a size 5 will do. I'll visit the armory later. He then glanced at Naruto's rings. He knew Naruto would be alright, but at the moment he was more worried about Percy. Sword and spear fights? Percy asked. Cabin challenges and all that, he explained. Not lethal. Usually. Oh, yes, and there's the mess hall. Chiron pointed to an outdoor pavilion framed in white Grecian columns on a hill overlooking the sea. There were a dozen stone picnic tables. No roof. No walls. Not bad, Naruto smirked as he observed it, he really wanting to eat now. What do you do when it rains? Percy asked with a confused face. Chiron looked at him as if he had gone a little weird. We still have to eat, don't we? He then sighed and decided to drop the subject. Finally, they reached the cabins that Naruto had seen earlier. The collection of 12 cabins was very odd to Percy but Naruto didn't seem as fazed. He guessed the blonde and seen weirder things, which was very possible with all those stories Naruto had told him. Percy looked back at the building to get a better outlook at what was what. They were arranged in a U, with 2 at the base and 5 in a row on either side. Except for the fact that each had a large brass number above the door with odds on the left side, evens on the right, they looked absolutely nothing alike. Number 9 had smokestacks, like a tiny factory. Number 4 had tomato vines on the walls and a roof made out of real grass. 7 seemed to be made of solid gold, which gleamed so much in the sunlight it was almost impossible to look at. They all faced a commons area about the size of a soccer field, dotted with Greek statues, fountains, flower beds, and a couple of basketball hoops, which Percy smirked at. Now that was something he could do. In the center of the field was a huge stone-lined fire pit. Even though it was a warm afternoon, the hearth smoldered. A girl about 9 years old was tending the flames, poking the coals with a stick. Naruto found this odd but he did feel that the girl extruded a lot of power. She was someone that you did not mess with, that was for sure. He had to remember to talk to her later, she seemed lonely to him. Percy looked to the huge mausoleum-like cabins at the bend of the U and he instantly knew who they were for. Zeus and Hera. Correct, Chiron said. Their cabins look empty. Several of the cabins are. That's true, but no one ever stays in those 2. Chiron explained. What a drag. Naruto muttered Shikamaru's famous saying. Sounds like a real waste to me. He then noticed that Percy was staring at a long, low, and solid cabin that seemed to be extruding power as well. The outer walls were of rough gray stone studded with pieces of seashell and coral, as if the slabs had been hewn straight from the bottom of the ocean floor. Curious, Percy tried to take a peek inside. Chiron said, oh, I wouldn't do that. But Percy had already looked in and was a little sad at how sad and empty it looked inside. "Come on, Percy," Chiron said as he led them away from the cabin. "I swear this guy knows something. What a drag, agh. I am sounding more and more like Shikamaru. Next I'll be lying around all day watching the clouds and sleeping." Naruto ranted in his head. Now, most of the other cabins, however, had a lot of kids for their cabins. Naruto held in a chuckle. Man, these gods just can't seem to keep it in their pants. Number 5 was bright red, which did not have that great of a paint job. It was as if the color had been splashed on with buckets and fists. The roof was lined with barbed wire. A stuffed wild boar's head hung over the doorway, and its eyes seemed to follow all that looked at it. Inside they could see a bunch of mean-looking kids, both girls and boys, arm wrestling and arguing with each other while rock music blared. The loudest was a girl maybe 13 or 14. She wore a size XXXL Camp Half-Blood t-shirt under a camouflage jacket. She zeroed in on Percy and gave him an evil sneer. She reminded him of Nancy Bobo Fit, though the camper girl was much bigger and tougher looking, and her hair was long and stringy, and brown instead of red. Naruto smirked as he recognized her. Her cabin seemed really fun. Percy then noticed something. "Hey, where are all the other centaurs? They around here?" "No," said Chiron sadly. "My kinsmen are a wild and barbaric folk, I'm afraid. You might encounter them in the wilderness, or at major sporting events. But you won't see any here." Naruto gave the man a smirk. "Oh, so they are the guys who love to party, eh? Now they are some people I want to meet." Chiron put a smirk and said, "I am not sure about that, Naruto. They take it to the extreme and they do that every day. So what you are saying is that they are the ones who invented tailgate parties and frat parties?" Naruto deadpanned and Chiron just nodded. "Oh boy, you said your name was Chiron." Percy interrupted, "Are you really?" He smiled down at the boy. "The Chiron from the stories? Trainer of Hercules and all that?" "Yes, Percy, I am. But, shouldn't you be dead?" Naruto asked with a raised eyebrow. Chiron paused, as if the question intrigued him. "I honestly don't know about should be. The truth is I can't be dead. You see, eons ago the gods granted my wish. I could continue the work I loved. I could be a teacher of heroes as long as humanity needed me. I gained much from that wish, and I gave up much. But I'm still here, so I can only assume I'm still needed. Being a teacher for all time, man, that sounds boring." Naruto said. No, Chiron said. "Horribly depressing, at times, but never boring." "Why depressing?" Percy asked. "I can only imagine why." Naruto said quietly, "Being immortal mean you see all those that you have learned to love die sooner or later. I am not sure if I could do that." "Oh, look," he said. "Annabeth is waiting for us." Chiron suddenly said, as if not hearing the question. When they reached the blonde girl, it was at cabin 11. The girl was reading a book that was not even in English. The thing was in Greek and it seemed to be about Greek architecture. "Annabeth," Chiron said, "I have master's archery class at noon. Would you take these two from here?" "Yes, sir." Cabin 11, Chiron told them, gesturing toward the doorway. "Make yourself at home." Out of all the cabins, 11 looked the most like a regular old summer camp cabin, with the emphasis on old. The threshold was worn down, the brown paint peeling. Over the doorway was one of those doctor's symbols, a winged pole with 2 snakes wrapped around it. Looking inside, Naruto's sweat dropped at what he saw. It was packed with people, both boys and girls, way more than the number of bunk beds. Sleeping bags were spread all over on the floor. "Oh, crud, this is worse than the orphanage back home, or maybe not," he thought as he looked at them all. They were all in good spirits. He did notice that when they saw Chiron, they stood and bowed to the man. "Well, then," Chiron said. "Good luck, Percy. I'll see you at dinner." He then galloped away toward the archery range. Naruto looked back at the retreating horseman with a glint in his eyes. Percy saw that and felt like he should try and get Naruto to spare him. But then again, this was Naruto. When he has a target for a prank in mind, not even a god could stop him. "You have a prank in mind, don't you?" Naruto just looked at him. "Remember that 3-hour hell he put us through?" Percy shivered at the memory. Turning back to the group behind them, they noticed that all the kids were sizing up the two of them. Great, now they needed to make a good impression. So naturally Percy tripped coming in the door and made a total fool of myself. There were some snickers from the campers, but none of them said anything. Naruto just walked in nonchalantly, which seemed to calm Percy down a bit. Annabeth announced, Percy Jackson, Naruto Uzumaki, meet Cabin 11. Regular or undetermined? Somebody asked. The words I'm looking for are, we just got here, recently arrived, am unfamiliar with this place. I suppose the operative phrase you're looking for is, we're new. Naruto listed off his fingers with a deadpanned look and there was a groan of annoyance from everyone in the cabin. A guy who was a little older than the rest came forward. Now, campers. That's what we're here for. Welcome, Percy, Naruto. You can have that spot on the floor, right over there. It is pretty big so the two of you will fit for now. The guy was about 19, and he looked pretty cool. He was tall and muscular, with short cropped hair and a friendly smile. He wore an orange tank top, cutoffs, sandals, and a leather necklace with 5 different colored clay beads. The only thing unsettling about his appearance was a thick white scar that ran from just beneath his right eye to his jaw, like an old knife slash. Oh ho, now this guy seems like fighter. Naruto smirked at the thought. He knew this place was going to be fun. This is Luke, Annabeth said, and her voice sounded different somehow. They looked at her and it looked like she just got out of a blush. Naruto raised an eyebrow. It seemed that she was into old guys. He smirked, he could tease her later. His expression hardened when she them looking, but for Naruto, he already had some pranking material. He's your counselor for now. For now. Percy asked. You're undetermined, Luke explained patiently. They don't know what cabin to put you in, so you're here. Cabin 11 takes all newcomers, all visitors. Naturally, we would. Hermes, our patron, is the god of travelers. Heh, the god of thieves, now that is a guy that sounds fun. Naruto said, getting a few chuckles from the other campers. He decided to give back Luke's wallet, his pocket knife and his wristwatch so he held them out. Here, I think these are yours, man. Wah. Luke said a little surprised. How? When? Oh, just now and I am a ninja, it's just too easy for me. Naruto said, getting a few shocked looks. Anyway. Percy interrupted, already used to Naruto's antics. How long are we going to be here? Good question, Luke said as he took his stuff back. Until you're determined. How long will that take? The campers all laughed. I am getting the feeling that take a long time. Naruto's sweat dropped. What do we have to do, prove ourselves? Fight half the camp. Come on, Annabeth told me. I'll show you the volleyball court. I've already seen it. Percy replied. Come on. She grabbed his wrist and dragged him outside. Percy could hear the kids of Cabin 11 laughing behind him. Naruto shook his head but followed them. This girl was odd but she seemed fun to him. He then chuckled to himself. Could Percy already have a girlfriend and already be whipped? Nah, he just got here after all. When we were a few feet away, Annabeth said, Jackson, you have to do better than that. What? She rolled her eyes and mumbled under her breath, I can't believe I thought you were the one. What's your problem? Naruto grimaced as he heard the anger in his friend's voice. All I know is, I kill some bull guy and that was with the help of Naruto. We just kill some odd bull freak. Don't talk like that. Annabeth told him. You know how many kids at this camp wish they'd had your chance to get killed? Percy asked with a confused look. To fight the Minotaur. What do you think we train for? The girl yelled. Give us a break, we just got here and had no idea about this. Though you guy must train your asses off here. The Minotaur from those old stories was a pain in the ass to kill. I only weaken it with a Rasengan. Naruto complained. A what? Annabeth asked. Naruto just sighed as he created a ball of swirling energy that disappeared after a few seconds, but those watching them had seen it and wondered what it could do. Wait, Theseus killed him in the labyrinth. So. Percy trailed off. Monsters don't die, Percy. They can be killed. But they don't die. Oh, thanks. Now say that to someone who has never been here before. "'Cause the words, killed, and, die, are pretty much the same," muttered Naruto. "They don't have souls, like us. You can dispel them for a while, maybe even for a whole lifetime if you're lucky. But they are primal forces. Chiron calls them archetypes. Eventually, they reform." "Oh, that's nice," Naruto said as he smacked his head. "You mean if we killed one, accidentally, with a sword, the fur?" "I mean, your math teacher." "That's right. She's still out there. You just made her very, very mad," Annabeth informed him. "How did you know about Mrs. Dodds? You talk in your sleep. You almost called her something." "A fury?" "They're Hades torturers, right?" Naruto asked while Percy nodded. Annabeth glanced nervously at the ground, as if she expected it to open up and swallow her. "You shouldn't call them by name, even here. We call them the kindly ones, if we have to speak of them at all. Man, you guys take fear to the extreme. Sure, she was a creepy bat, and I use that term loosely, but come on. They can't be that bad," Naruto replied. Annabeth just gave him a look. "Look, is there anything we can say without it thundering?" Percy whined. That even sounded sad to him. "Why do I have to stay in cabin 11, anyway? Why is everybody so crowded together? There are plenty of empty bunks right over there," he said, pointing to a few other cabins. "You don't just choose a cabin, Percy. It depends on who your parents are. Or, your parent," Annabeth informed him. He seemed to get it, maybe. "My mom is Sally Jackson," he said. "She works at the candy store in Grand Central Station. At least, she used to." Percy, I think she means your dad," Naruto commented. "But he's dead." "I never knew him," Percy said. Annabeth sighed. Clearly, she'd had this conversation before with other kids. "Your father's not dead, Percy. I am getting the feeling that he is a god, right?" Naruto deadpanned. "What?" Percy said, surprised. "How else would you be allowed here?" Naruto shrugged. "What about you?" Percy pointed to Naruto. "Oh, I am not sure, but whoever my mom was, she said to just wait until the right time. Besides, you know that I am an orphan, so I am used to waiting around like this won't kill me." "Oh, right," Percy said a little embarrassed. "But, how do I know I am a demigod as they are called? Usually demigods are diagnosed with dyslexia and probably ADHD, too," Annabeth said. Dyslexia is where you mix up word and stuff, right?" Percy asked. "Heh, you think you got it bad, what about me? I know 3 languages now," Naruto said. "English, Japanese, and now this Greek stuff. So, you could read it at the museum as well." "Yep," Naruto answered. "Okay, so how does ADHD help?" "Simple, they are your battle reflexes," Annabeth stated. "It is a good thing you had that, because if you didn't, you would not have survived the Minotaur, much less eaten the ambrosia and nectar." "Huh. Percy, that stuff you drank that made you feel better," Naruto said. "For me that stuff tasted like Ichiraku's ramen." He had anime tears in his eyes, making Percy chuckle to himself. His friend had the weirdest tastes and suffering from withdrawal. "My mom's cookies," Percy said sadly. Even Naruto was sad. He liked Ms. Jackson and was very nice to him, plus her cookies were the best. "Well, those are the signs, you two are defiantly demigods," Annabeth said, but before she could say anything else, she was interrupted by someone very familiar to her and Naruto. "Well, a newbie," a husky voice said. Percy looked over to the big girl he saw in the Ares cabin, come sauntering toward them. She had 3 other girls behind her, all big and ugly and mean looking like her, all wearing camo jackets. He noticed that she was talking to him, but also that she was stealing glances at his blonde-haired friend. Oh God, no. Why does he attract all the strong and mean girls? Percy remembered some of the other bullies wanting a piece of Naruto back when they were at school and not in the line-up to beat down way. "Clarice," Annabeth sighed, also noticing the looks. "Why don't you go polish your spear or something?" She then muttered, "Unless you want to polish someone else's spear." "Shut up, princess," the big girl said, trying not to blush. "I'll just run you through with it Friday night. Ura es Caracas," Annabeth said, which was Greek for "go to the crows." though the boys had a feeling it was a worse curse than it sounded. You don't stand a chance. We'll pulverize you, Clarice said. He then looked at Naruto and had a slight pink tint to her cheeks. Hey Naruto, who is the runt with you? Oh. This is my friend Percy Jackson. Yes, and I am sure Naruto already knows this, but this is Clarice, daughter of Ares, god of war. Annabeth mumbled, finding it odd that Clarice could well nice. The war god. Percy said with both eyebrows raised. Clarice sneered and held up Percy by the collar. You got a problem with that? No, Percy said, recovering his wits. It explains the bad smell. Naruto smacked his head. Now he gets a backbone. Clarice growled. We got an initiation ceremony for newbies, Percy. Whatever. Come on, I'll show you. Clarice said as he dragged the boy to the bathrooms. Clarice, Annabeth tried to say. Stay out of it, wise girl. Clarice growled as she and the others walked away. Naruto. Annabeth rounded on her fellow blonde. You have to help him. Sighing, Naruto replied, I know I should, but I can't be the one to fight all his battles. He then grabbed the horn Percy dropped. They walked to the door while saying this, and he was sure Percy heard him. Let's see if he can regain some of that strength like last time. Annabeth and Naruto watched at the door as Clarice and her friends mocked Percy. As they began to push Percy's head toward the toilet, Naruto felt that power that he felt back at the museum. Oh, this is going to be messy. Huh? Annabeth asked. Then, one of the toilets shot out water at Clarice, and as her friends tried to help her, the other toilets exploded, blasting water all over the place. Naruto grabbed Annabeth and jumped to the ceiling but still got wet. Didn't see that coming, he said, shaking water out of his hair. Percy walked over to them with a shocked expression, but he was laughing in the inside at how funny the two looked. Annabeth said, How did you? I don't know. Percy shrugged. Well Percy, you just gave the name Water Boy a whole new meaning. Naruto said, which actually got a laugh from Annabeth. Percy just told him to shut up. They walked to the door. Outside, Clarice and her friends were sprawled in the mud, and a bunch of other campers had gathered around to gawk. Clarice's hair was flattened across her face. Her camouflage jacket was sopping and she smelled like sewage. She gave me a look of absolute hatred. You are dead, new boy. You are totally dead. However, it was quickly gone because Naruto had decided to help out. He created 2 shadow clones to help her cabin mates. He walked over to Clarice and helped her up. Don't be too hard on him next time. He smirked and then winked. He then jumped back to Percy's and Annabeth's side, leaving more shocked people to look at him. He never saw the full-blown blush on her face. Show off. Percy smirked. Oh, you and your hurtful words, Naruto shrugged. He then noticed Annabeth looking from Percy to Naruto. What? What are you thinking? I'm thinking, she said, that I want the 2 of you on my team for Capture the Flag. If you want our help you got to get the whole cabin that goes along with us. Chapter 8, Summer Truly Begins. After that little incident at the bathrooms, people were whispering about what had happened. Of course Naruto just ignored it while he was sure Percy heard it. Another odd thing was that Annabeth was still wet after what had happened, and so he helped her out by getting a large towel for her. They passed a rock wall that had lava spewing out of it and he smirked. Now that was a challenge he was loved to try, but with his skill it might be too easy. Maybe he should add some challenges to it. Naruto then swore in his head. He was now sounding like Rock Lee and his sensei. Next there was the art and crafts portion of the camp. He smirked again, thinking that he could work on some future weapons. He thought up of some different weapons he could make. He was sure Tenten pay an arm and a leg for some of thing he thought up, and from the look of it he knew he could make them. He was sure there were several campers he could find weapons that could fit for their style. First he needed to make some more weapons like those back in the ninja world. The one he has wouldn't cut it, no pun intended, against the enemies here. So, when the trio stopped at the canoeing lake that had passed earlier, Annabeth stopped and said flatly, I've got training to do. Dinner's at 7:30. Just follow your cabin to the mess hall. Annabeth, I'm sorry about the toilets. Percy blurted out, feeling guilty. Whatever. It wasn't my FAU. Percy said but stopped as he too knew it was his own fault. Annabeth looked at him skeptically and Naruto just chuckled quietly to himself. Percy glared at his blonde friend for that. While Percy was an idiot around girls, he knew this and Naruto would never miss a moment to tell him so. Naruto was a clueless romantic. He could not figure it out, how Naruto could get most girls to like him but was just as blind as a bat in the morning sun. Anyway, thinking back to the toilet water, he wondered how the hell he had done it in the first place. Needed to control it and he hoped Naruto would help him with it later. You need to talk to the Oracle, Annabeth said. Who? Percy asked. Not who. What? The Oracle. I'll ask Chiron. Percy sighed and looked down into the water, hoping someone would giving a straightforward answer for once. He didn't expect to see anyone but his eyes widened when he did see two people down there. Curious, Naruto looked and saw them too. They saw two teenage girls sitting cross-legged at the base of the pier, about 20 feet below. They wore blue jeans and shimmering green t-shirts, and their brown hair floated loose around their shoulders as minnows darted in and out. They looked at the two boys and waving like they knew them. Some people are real friendly around here. Naruto commented as he and Percy waved a bit. Don't encourage them, Annabeth warned. Naiads are terrible flirts. Naiads, Percy repeated, feeling completely overwhelmed. That's it. I want to go home now. Annabeth frowned. Don't you get it, Percy? You are home. This is the only safe place on Earth for kids like us. You mean, mentally disturbed kids? Deadpan Percy. I mean not human. Not totally human, anyway. Half human. Half human and half what? I think you know. Annabeth replied. Percy, I think she means half god. And if that is true, we are like the heroes in those stories Chiron made us read. Basically, we are going to be kick-ass fighters, real old school style. Naruto, you already know how to fight. You are a ninja. Percy sighed. I know, I wonder if this place has any good pranksters. Naruto thought with an evil glint in his eyes. Percy saw this and felt pity for the camp. Knowing Naruto, he'll turn the camp upside down in no time. He might even prank the whole camp at once. Annabeth sighed in defeat. By the gods, not another one. The Stroll brothers in the Hermes cabin are who you should be looking for in that area. She replied, not sure why she said that. As if it finally sunk it, Percy shouted, then my dad is alive. Yes, he is one of the Olympians. Annabeth said, that's crazy, is it? What's the most common thing gods did in the old stories? They ran around falling in love with humans and having kids with them. Do you think they've changed their habits in the last few millennia? I would not think so. Naruto chuckled, powerful people like them have to release somehow, if you know what I mean. Percy just smacked his head. Right, so what are we called again? Percy asked. We are demigods. Then who is your dad? Percy asked. Her hands tightened around the pier railing. He got the feeling he'd just trespassed on a sensitive subject. My dad is a professor at West Point, she said. I haven't seen him since I was very small. He teaches American history. So you got a powerful mom then. Naruto said, making Annabeth chuckle a bit at his reference to her mother. He's human. Percy stated. What? You assume it has to be a male god who finds a human female attractive? How sexist is that? Who is your mom then? Cabin 6. Meaning. Annabeth would have answered him again but Naruto helped her out. Man, did you not pay attention while we move around here? It is Athena. The goddess of wisdom and battle. Oh, that is cool. Percy smiled. Yeah, but if you think about it, I think she likes really smart guys, so I am going to assume she likes to hang around universities or colleges that I heard about. Man, hanging around school just to meet a guy for all time, I can barely stand school now. Naruto reasoned before both boys shuddered about the school thing, making Annabeth laugh some. Okay, so who is my dad? Asked Percy. Undetermined, Annabeth said, like I told you before. Nobody knows. Except my mother. She knew. Maybe not, Percy. Gods don't always reveal their identities. My dad would have. He loved her. Annabeth gave him a cautious look. She didn't want to burst his bubble. Maybe you're right. Maybe he'll send a sign. That's the only way to know for sure. Your father has to send you a sign claiming you as his son. Sometimes it happens. You mean sometimes it doesn't? Percy, why do you think our cabin is so overflowing? Naruto helped out. Annabeth nodded. The gods are busy. They have a lot of kids and they don't always. Well, sometimes they don't care about us, Percy. They ignore us. Hermes, I can understand, the gods must have him overworked. Apollo has to keep the sun going, other than that I don't think some of the gods should be that busy. At least not enough for them to claim their kids. So I'm stuck here, Percy said, thinking about all the sad expressions he saw at the cabin. He had seen that on some rich kids back at Yansei Academy and on Naruto some of the time. That's it? For the rest of my life? What about Naruto? He has had it worse than me. Huh? Came Annabeth's response. I knew my mom. Naruto didn't know either of his parents. Percy said. Don't worry about it, Percy, I had the leader of my village back home. My dad may have been dead, but I got along pretty well. Besides, if my mom is some all-powerful goddess, then she might not have a lot of time if the other gods have work to do too. Naruto shrugged, getting a sad look from his friend and raised eyebrow from Annabeth. Besides, I turned out pretty good. Naruto smirked with giving the nice guy pose, and then swore again, muttering curse you Lee, which made Percy smack his head. Well, it really depends. Annabeth stated. Some campers only stay the summer. If you're a child of Aphrodite or Demeter, you're probably not a real powerful force. The monsters might ignore you, so you can get by with a few months of summer training and live in the mortal world the rest of the year. But for some of us, it's too dangerous to leave. We're year-rounders. In the mortal world, we attract monsters. They sense us. They come to challenge us. Most of the time, they'll ignore us. We're old enough to cause trouble, about 10 or 11 years old, but after that, most demigods either make their way here, or they get killed off. A few manage to survive in the outside world and become famous. Believe me, if I told you the names, you'd know them. Some don't even realize they're demigods. But very, very few are like that. So monsters can't get in here? Percy asked, hoping he was safe. Annabeth shook her head. Not unless they're intentionally stalked in the woods or specially summoned by somebody on the inside. Why would anybody want to summon a monster? Practice fights. Practical jokes. Practical jokes. Heh, some people's idea of a prank, sweet. Naruto said. Of course I can summon toads, so I am familiar with summoning. Toads? Both Percy and Annabeth asked at the same time. Heh, you'll see later, I am sure. Naruto smirked. Anyway. Annabeth said while shaking her head to get back on track. The point is the borders are sealed to keep mortals and monsters out. From the outside, mortals look into the valley and see nothing unusual, just a strawberry farm. So, you're a year-rounder? Percy asked while Naruto wondered if this place was protected by some huge genjutsu. Annabeth nodded. From under the collar of her t-shirt she pulled a leather necklace with 5 clay beads of different colors. It was just like Luke's, except Annabeth's also had a big gold ring strung on it, like a college ring. I've been here since I was 7, she said. Every August, on the last day of summer session, you get a bead for surviving another year. I've been here longer than most of the counselors, and they're all in college. Why did you come so young? She twisted the ring on her necklace. None of your business. Naruto grimaced. Thanks to Talia, he knew what happened. Oh. Percy stood there for a minute in uncomfortable silence. So, I could just walk out of here right now if I wanted to. It would be suicide, but you could, with Mr. D's or Chiron's permission. But they wouldn't give permission until the end of the summer session unless. Both boys asked, one eager to get away from this craziness while the other wanted to see more of the world and fight a ton of monsters. You were granted a quest. But that hardly ever happens. The last time. Her voice trailed off. I could tell from her tone that the last time hadn't gone well. Back in the sick room, Percy said, when you were feeding me that stuff. Ambrosia. Yeah, that stuff. I only saw you feeding me, so assumed Naruto was already up. Heh, knowing him, he would have bolted out the door if he had to feed me, Percy said with a chuckle while Naruto rolled his eyes before playfully kicking him. Anyway, you asked me something about the summer solstice. Annabeth's shoulders tensed. So you do know something? Well, no. Back at my old school, Naruto and I overheard Grover and Chiron talking about it. Grover mentioned the summer solstice. He said something like we didn't have much time, because of the deadline. What did that mean? Because we could not figure it out. She clenched her fists. I wish I knew. Chiron and the Satyrs, they know, but they won't tell me. Something is wrong in Olympus, something pretty major. Last time I was there, everything seemed so normal. As normal as you can get with gods anyway. Naruto muttered. You've been to Olympus? Percy asked surprised. Some of us year-rounders, Luke and Clarice and I and a few others, we took a field trip during winter solstice. That's when the gods have their big annual council. But, how did you get there? The Long Island Railroad, of course. You get off at Penn Station. Empire State Building, special elevator to the 600th floor. She looked at them like she was sure they must know this already. You are a New Yorker, right? Okay, but seeing as we are new to this we don't know everything about how things are. Even true New Yorkers don't know that the Empire State Building has 600 floors. Naruto said exasperated. Right after we visited, Annabeth continued, the weather got weird, as if the gods had started fighting. A couple of times since, I've overheard satyrs talking. The best I can figure out is that something important was stolen. And if it isn't returned by summer solstice, there's going to be trouble. When you came, I was hoping. I mean, Athena can get along with just about anybody, except for Ares. And of course she's got the rivalry with Poseidon. But, I mean, aside from that, I thought we could work together. I thought you might know something. Well if we someone get a quest for this, I am sure we can all work together if that is what you are gunning for. Naruto smirked. Thanks. I need to get one. I mean I am old enough for one, so yeah. Annabeth trailed off. Now I am curious as to what was stolen if it is so important that the gods are fighting over it. Naruto said in a thinking pose that did not suit him. Then they heard Percy's stomach growled. Right, well I will see you later. Annabeth said, tracing her finger along the railing of the pier, as if drawing a battle plan, though considering who her mom was, it was not surprising. Well come on. We should get back to the cabin. Naruto sighed, obviously bored now. Right. Scene change. Back at cabin 11, everybody was talking and horsing around, waiting for dinner. While Naruto was walking along the walls and ceiling laughing while freaking everyone out. Percy had just noticed that a lot of the campers in the cabin had the same features, sharp noses, upturned eyebrows, mischievous smiles. They were the kind of kids that teachers would peg as troublemakers. In a sense, they were sort of like Naruto, natural-born pranksters. Only less evil in Percy's opinion. He was relieved that he was left alone for the moment as he sat down with his minotaur horn. The counselor, Luke, came over. He had the Hermes family resemblance, too. It was marred that scar on his right cheek, but his smile was intact. Found you a sleeping bag, he said. And here, I stole you some toiletries from the camp store. Percy raised an eyebrow, not sure if he was tell the truth about the stealing part. Thanks. No prob. Luke sat next to him, pushed his back against the wall. Tough first day. Though, unlike you, Naruto seems to be making himself at home. Naruto is good with adjusting to weird situations, considering where he has come from. Percy chuckled sadly. Me, I don't belong here, I mean, I don't even believe in the gods. Yeah, Luke said. That's how we all started. Once you start believing in them, it doesn't get any easier. But I am curious as to where Naruto lived if he can adjust so easily. Yeah, well he says he is from a land called the Elemental Nations. At first I didn't believe him, but he did stuff no one here can even do, so I started to believe it. Percy said. I have heard of it when I overheard the gods speak of that place at the meeting me, Annabeth and a few others attended. Apparently is a very war-torn place. Of course Ares, god of war, loves that place. They have all been there a few times, and they say time works differently between the two worlds. Luke explained. Wow, who knew? I guess the gods need a break from this world sometimes. Percy chuckled and Luke laughed along with him. So, your dad is Hermes. He pulled a switchblade out of his back pocket, and for a second Percy thought he was going to gut him, but he just scraped the mud off the sole of his sandal. Yeah. Hermes. The wing-footed messenger guy. Percy asked, skeptical. That's him. Messengers. Medicine. Travelers, merchants, thieves. Anybody who uses the roads. That's why you're here, enjoying Cabin 11's hospitality. Hermes isn't picky about who he sponsors. You ever meet your dad? I asked. Once. Luke said but didn't seem to say more on that subject. So, I guess he claims all his kids. Percy said. Pretty much, but I was kind of wondering if Naruto was one of us. Apparently not, as he has not been claimed yet. Hermes has his kids claimed almost as soon as they get to camp. Luke said, amused as Naruto was doing handstands on the ceiling, teasing the others. Don't worry about it, Percy. The campers here, they're mostly good people. After all, we're extended family, right? We take care of each other. Heh, sounds like Naruto. He usually helped me and Grover this year in school. Percy chuckled. He was glad he had friends like Naruto, Grover, and now the people here at camp. He then asked something that has been bugging him. Clarice, from Aries, was joking about me being Big 3 material. Then Annabeth, twice, she said I might be the one. She said I should talk to the Oracle. What was that all about? Luke folded his knife. I hate prophecies. What do you mean? Luke's face twitched around the scar. Let's just say I messed things up for everybody else. The last 2 years, ever since my trip to the Garden of the Hesperides went sour, Chiron hasn't allowed any more quests. Annabeth's been dying to get out into the world. She pestered Chiron so much he finally told her he already knew her fate. He'd had a prophecy from the Oracle. He wouldn't tell her the whole thing, but he said Annabeth wasn't destined to go on a quest yet. She had to wait until somebody special came to the camp. Somebody special? You mean like me, or more specifically, Naruto? I mean, he is pretty special. He is stealing Spider-Man's thing after all. Percy asked. Don't worry about it, kid, Luke said with a laugh. Annabeth wants to think every new camper who comes through here is the omen she's been waiting for. Now, come on, it's dinner time. The moment he said it, a horn blew in the distance. Luke yelled, 11, fall in. The whole cabin, about 20 or so of kids, filed into the commons yard. They lined up in order of seniority, so of course Percy and Naruto were dead last, though Naruto didn't seem to mind when Percy grumbled about it. Campers came from the other cabins, too, except for the 3 empty cabins at the end in cabin 8, which had looked normal in the daytime but was now starting to glow silver as the sun went down. Naruto found this really cool. They marched up the hill to the mess hall pavilion. Satyrs joined the group from the meadow. Naiads emerged from the canoeing lake. A few other girls came out of the woods, literally. In all, there were maybe 100 campers, a few dozen satyrs, and a dozen assorted wood nymphs and naiads. At the pavilion, torches blazed around the marble columns. A central fire burned in a bronze brazier the size of a bathtub. Each cabin had its own table, covered in white cloth trimmed in purple. 4 of the tables were empty, but cabin 11's was way overcrowded. Percy had to squeeze onto the edge of a bench with half his butt hanging off. Naruto was smart and made a shadow clone and transformed into a small seat for himself, shocking a few people, who wondered how he did it. The boys saw Grover sitting at table 12 with Mr. D, a few satyrs, and a couple of plump blonde boys who looked just like Mr. D. Chiron stood to one side, the picnic table being way too small for a centaur. This made Naruto laugh some. Annabeth sat at table 6 with a bunch of serious-looking athletic kids, all with her gray eyes and honey blonde hair. Clarice sat behind them at Ares's table. She'd apparently gotten over being hosed down and then blow-dried, because she was laughing and belching right alongside her friends. Finally, Chiron pounded his hoof against the marble floor of the pavilion, and everybody fell silent. He raised a glass. To the gods. Everybody else raised their glasses. To the gods. Naruto, being Naruto, cheered loudly along with the rest of them while Percy did it weakly, still trying to get used to this madness. Wood nymphs came forward with platters of food, grapes, apples, strawberries, cheese, fresh bread, and yes, barbecue. Naruto and Percy's glasses was empty, but Luke said, speak to it. Whatever you want, non-alcoholic, of course. While Percy experimented with his blue cherry Coke, Naruto asked, orange soda. That made Percy laugh hard. No matter what he and Grover did, they could never get the blonde away from the color orange. Then some food was passed to the two boys. "Come on," Luke called. They followed him to the bathtub-size fire and saw people throwing in a good portion of their food in it. "Burnt offerings for the gods. They like the smell," he murmured. The boys gave Luke a deadpanned look. "You're kidding." Luke's look warned them not to take this lightly, but they couldn't help wondering why an immortal, all-powerful being would like the smell of burning food. But whatever floats their boat, right? Luke approached the fire, bowed his head, and tossed in a cluster of fat red grapes. "Hermes." While Percy made a silent plea to whoever was listening, he threw it in there and not much happened except for an odd smell of chocolate and fresh-baked brownies, hamburgers on the grill and wildflowers, and 100 other good things that shouldn't have gone well together, but did. Percy looked oddly at it before letting Naruto have his turn. Naruto threw a piece in there before the familiar smell of Ichiraku's ramen stand filled their air before it turned to the smell of Tsunade's sake. Then something weird happened, the fire turned pure gold and sliver for a few seconds before turning back. Naruto looked back to see that Percy and a lot of other people had seen it too. They all had their eyebrows raised high. Naruto and Percy quickly went back to the table before anyone asked any questions. After that, they ate quickly, with Naruto finding his favorite food on the table, ramen. Of course it was only in one bowl, but he did not mind. The odd thing was that when he finished it, it came back. Oh yeah, this was a good thing, never-ending ramen. He made a note to send a couple bowls to the gods, he knew they would like it. When everybody had returned to their seats and finished eating their meals, Chiron pounded his hoof again for their attention. Mr. D got up with a huge sigh. "Yes, I suppose I'd better say hello to all you brats." "Well, hello. Our activities director, Chiron, says the next capture the flag is Friday. Cabin 5 presently holds the laurels." A bunch of cheering rose from the Ares table. "Personally," Mr. D continued, "I couldn't care less, but congratulations. Also, I should tell you that we have 2 new campers today. Peter Johnson and Naru Uzami. It's Naruto Uzumaki. Not a girl's name." Naruto barked out, but Mr. D just smirked. He may like this kid and found him funny, which is saying something as he is hard to please, but it was more fun messing with him than seeing him mess with everyone else. There was also laughter from the Ares table. Though it was more for the fact that a camper had yelled at Mr. D. Then Chiron muttered something. Percy Jackson, Mr. D corrected. "That's right. Hurrah, and all that. Now run along to your silly campfire. Go on." Everybody cheered. They all headed down toward the amphitheater, where Apollo's cabin led a sing-along. They sang camp songs about the gods and ate esmores and joked around. This made Percy feel more at him and not uncomfortable anymore. He even laughed when Naruto sang loudly and started of a song he knew. Then, Naruto smirked and started of a new song that he heard when listening to the radio once. "Here, let's try this summer song," the blonde said as he took out a guitar from out of nowhere. While everyone wondered what song he will do, Naruto started playing. "I got my first real 6-string, bought it at the 5 and dime, played it till my fingers bled. Was the summer of '69, me and some guys from school, had a band and we tried real hard. Percy quit and Grover got married, should known we'd never get far. Oh, when I look back now, that summer seemed to last forever, and if I had the choice, yeah, I had always wanna be there. Those were the best days of my life." Percy could not help but laugh, it was so like Naruto to add him and Grover into the song just for kicks. From Grover's face he was more shocked than he was. "Ain't no use in complaining, when you got a job to do. Spent my evenings down at the drive-in, and that's when I met you, yeah, standing on your mama's porch. You told me that you'd wait forever. Oh, and when you held my hand, I knew that it was now or never. Those were the best days of my life, back in the summer of '69. Man, we were killing time. We were young and restless. We needed to unwind. I guess nothing can last forever, no, yeah." Clarice could help but think of her being the girl and the song was her while Naruto was the guy. The music carried all the way to Talia's tree. Inside, Talia listens to Naruto's song, thinking the same thing, a burnt smoking phonograph not far from her. "And now the times are changing. Look at everything that's come and gone. Sometimes when I play that old 6-string, I think about you, wonder what went wrong. Standing on your mama's porch, you told me that it'd last forever. Oh, when you held my hand, I knew that it was now or never. Those were the best days of my life, oh yeah. Back in the summer of '69, It was the summer of '69, oh yeah, me and my baby in '69. It was the summer of '69. The ended and the whole camp cheered and clapped. Percy clapped the hardest because he still could not believe his blonde friend put his friends into the song. He looked over to see Clarice eyeing Naruto with a smirk and small blush. Naruto was so screwed. If it was good or bad was too soon to tell. This girl obviously liked Guts. Annabeth was too busy cheering with the rest of her cabin to really care, though she did wonder why Naruto did this in the first place. Mr. D was actually smiling, something that Chiron was shocked at. Who knew? The boys smiled at each other. They could honestly say that Camp Half-Blood was not that bad after all. They were really starting to like it. Chapter 9, Pranks, Games and Family. The next few days were really weird, but it soon became routine and that in fact mythical creatures were teaching Naruto was not bothering him. It might have bothered his friend Percy but, that was just Percy. Although he did have his revenge against Chiron. The memory still brought a smile to his face. Flashback. The first morning of training at breakfast, Chiron slowly and gloomily trotted to his table. All noise stopped as they watched him. His once white horse body was now bright pink with small hearts, rainbows and other thing the girls of Aphrodite cabin love. On his right hind leg was the words My Little Pony in bright blue. Even the shirt was dyed pink and other extreme girly things on it. As he passed the Hermes table he stopped and asked, was this really necessarily, Naruto? That broke the dam as everyone from Hermes to Ares to Athena broke out laughing. Even Mr. D was giving a full belly laugh at this and quickly took a few pictures. Naruto just smiled and said to him, yes it was. That was for the 3-hour outrageous hell you put our class through. It was even worse for Percy and me with everything swimming before our eyes. Don't worry, it'll come out in a few days. Flashback ends. Each morning, they would go to a class called Ancient Greek, where they pretty much learned the Greek language from Annabeth. Now, thanks to their Greek heritage, they were able to understand it, but it was a little hard for Naruto because he confused English, Japanese, and Greek with each other some of the time. Then, after that and breakfast, they would participate in outdoor activities. This is where the boys separated for a bit to see what they were good at. Naruto went along with the schedule to see what was there and some really fun things. The first one was Sword and Shield class and it was taught by Clarice. She took this well and decided to prove herself against the blonde-haired warrior. Naruto, being himself, didn't pick any of the blades that were provided for him. He used the blade he was given to by Chiron. When Naruto started archery class he surprised the whole class. Flashback. Alright Naruto, started Chiron after showing him and Percy how to use the bow and arrow. Aim for any of the targets and try to hit the ring. Naruto just shrugged before fitting the bow and aimed for one of the farther targets. What he didn't know is that the Stroll brothers were planning on getting Naruto back for the prank he got them with. They still had no idea how he got them walking to breakfast wearing Lee's outfit. It caused the Aphrodite kids all fainted in shock and fright of the outfit and even Mr. D was laughing. They plan on having Naruto make a fool of himself in front of the Aphrodite girls, who were watching along with Clarice. They had a long wooden pole and as Naruto was about to fire his first arrow they slammed the pole to the bottom of the bow causing the arrow to shoot skyward. Before Chiron could tell Naruto to try again, he grabbed another arrow, fitted it and shot it at the first arrow all in 3 seconds. It nicked the end causing the first to spiral downward before hitting the farthest target in the center ring. Everyone, but Naruto's, jaw dropped, even Chiron's. Flashback ends. The next thing he tried was wing horseback riding. At first, the horses were hyper around him for some reason. But one did come up to him and it was a pure silver one. That had been shocking because that one did not trust a lot of boys only girls even then it took several meetings to do that. So, after their lunch, they all practiced aerial combat. At first, Naruto had been air sick, but quickly got over that. Just like last time, he had no clue how to fight in the air, so he improvised again, scaring the Demeter cabin when he had jumped off his Pegasus and kicked his opponent from the Ares cabin in the head to knock him away. The part that scared them however was that he was then free falling to the ground. Luckily, the Pegasus caught him. He got slapped a few times from the girls for scaring them but overall everyone was impressed. Then had a class on monster assaulting and he made that even more fun than what the Hermes cabin was doing. He blasted some of the monsters stalked in the woods with his clone and attacks so that the other campers could get a good strike in before it regained its bearings. Even when he wasn't doing that, there was not a monster he could not find and hunt. Percy joked, saying he was a Greek version of the Predator. Naruto added to the joke, saying he should make trophies out of any monster he fought, like the Minotaur horn he had acquired. He even said if he could find a way to keep the skulls of the monsters. After that he had a choice on what he could do. So for the next 3 days, he tried something new each time. In arts and crafts, he and the Hephaestus cabin had created ninja tools with celestial bronze, and even helped make designs for new crazy weapons for different campers. For the head counselor of Hephaestus, Charles Beckendorf, a shoulder cannon like that in Predator that shot Greek fire. Percy gave him the idea. Charles was all for it and could not wait to help make it and try it out. Oh yeah, he could defiantly work with the Hephaestus kids anytime. Another day, he tried canoe racing. And that went as well as most of his day at the academy. After 5 minutes of paddling in circles, he lost his temper and jumped out of the boat, lifted it and water walked all the way to the finish line. Of course Percy was in the class and beat him, but he was second. Still it was funny to see their what the hell faces at how he could walk on the water. With the wall climbing thing, he got bored of that real quick, as all he had to do was walk up it and he was done. A few times he literally ran circles around the satyrs just for fun, and a challenge that of course scared the hooves off them, which he found funny. Then he had some fun in the sun on the nearby beach. That was some good relaxing time, but Naruto was never alone, as he was oblivious to all the girls ogling him, mostly Clarice and the Aphrodite cabin girls, with a few girls for Demeter, Hermes and Apollo cabins. For most of his free time, Naruto would either talk to Talia in her tree or hang out with Percy, Annabeth, and Grover. During that time, Percy told them about his sword fight with their cabin leader, Luke. That was fun to hear about, but they had also heard about his spars with Clarice and wanted to know more on what happened. Talia was very interested in knowing what he did, and that was to be expected from someone stuck in a tree. The day before Capture the Flag, Naruto told her all about his world, and she was skeptical at first, but she soon believed him when he was able to do a jutsu in the tree. She then told him about her journey to Camp Half-Blood with Luke, Annabeth, and Grover. That was a really interesting tale. Before he left that night, he told her he would find a way to help her out of the tree, and that was a promise. She just smiled and hugged him, hoping that he would be able to save her from this nightmare. Right now Naruto, Percy, and Grover were at the pier. Naruto was watching the clouds while the other two were staring into the water. Naruto could tell that Percy had barely survived the rock wall because he smelt all burnt and toasty. When he heard Grover saying something about a searcher's license, he asked, "Okay, for those who are new to the whole half-blood thing, what is that?" "Oh." Grover jumped, forgetting that his other friend was there. "It will let me search for Pan, god of the wild." "Huh, so you got it?" the blonde asked. Grover looked down at the naiads in the water. Mr. D suspended judgment. He said, "I hadn't failed or succeeded with you two yet, so our fates were still tied together. If you got a quest and I went along to protect you, and we all came back alive, then maybe he'd consider the job complete." "Well, that's not so bad, right?" Percy asked. "Blah haha. He might as well have transferred me to stable cleaning duty. The chances of you getting a quest, and even if you did, why would you want me along?" "Of course we would want you along," Percy said, surprised at his friend's reaction. Naruto bopped his goat-like friend on the head. "Don't be so gloomy. You are our friend." Grover stared glumly into the water. "Basket weaving. Must be nice to have a useful skill." Naruto and Percy tried to reassure him that he had lots of talents, but that just made him look more miserable. They talked about canoeing and swordplay for a while, with Naruto being better at sword play than at canoeing. That made Percy laugh at the memory of his friend going in circles. Then they debated the pros and cons of the different gods. Naruto said that if one had the Lord of the Dead on your side, you would not have to worry about monsters going after you. Finally, Percy asked Grover about the 4 empty cabins. "Number 8, the silver one, belongs to Artemis," he said. "She vowed to be a maiden forever. So of course, no kids. The cabin is, honorary. If she didn't have one, she'd be mad." "Understandable, but come on. Having no kids of your own. Doesn't that get lonely after for so long? Not having someone to watch over, teach or be proud of?" Naruto commented. Well, she is head of the hunters, so she has kids, but they are not her own. Grover said. Claiming unclaimed kids, nice. Naruto said, approving of the idea. But, they are only girls. Grover replied. Naruto thought about it and thought that was kind of sexist to him. Thinking of some women in his world that he thought might join. He then shivered. If Enko was there, things would be crazy, and painful, defiantly painful. Yeah, okay. But the other three, the ones at the end. Are those the big three? Asked Percy. Grover tensed. The two boys guessed they were getting close to a touchy subject. No. One of them, number 2, is Hera's, he said. That's another honorary thing. She's the goddess of marriage, so of course she wouldn't go around having affairs with mortals. That's her husband's job. He didn't see the told you look Naruto gave Percy. When we say the big three, we mean the 3 powerful brothers, the sons of Kronos. Zeus, Poseidon, Hades. Percy stated. Right. You know. After the great battle with the Titans, they took over the world from their dad and drew lots to decide who got what. Zeus got the sky, Naruto stated. Poseidon the sea, Hades the underworld. Aha. Grover said. But Hades doesn't have a cabin here. Surprisingly, Percy said this. No. He doesn't have a throne on Olympus, either. He sort of does his own thing down in the underworld. If he did have a cabin here. Grover shuddered. Well, it wouldn't be pleasant. Let's leave it at that. He can't be that bad. Naruto rolled his eyes. He is kind of creepy. Grover stated. But Zeus and Poseidon, they both had, like, a bazillion kids in the myths. Why are their cabins empty? Percy asked. Grover shifted his hooves uncomfortably. About 60 years ago, after World War II, the big three agreed they wouldn't sire any more heroes. Their children were just too powerful. They were affecting the course of human events too much, causing too much carnage. World War II, you know, that was basically a fight between the sons of Zeus and Poseidon on one side, and the sons of Hades on the other. The winning side, Zeus and Poseidon, made Hades swear an oath with them, no more affairs with mortal women. They all swore on the river Styx. Well, that is interesting. A world war caused by your kids. I think they made a good choice, except one thing bugs me. Naruto said. What? Percy asked. They are immortal. They are going to break that oath one day, because nobody can give up their lifestyle. Wow, I don't think they even thought about that. Grover said with wide eyes. But they have kept that oath, right? Percy asked. Grover's face darkened. 17 years ago, Zeus fell off the wagon. There was this TV starlet with a big fluffy 80s hairdo, he just couldn't help himself. When their child was born, a little girl named Talia, well, the river Styx is serious about promises. Zeus himself got off because he's immortal, but he brought a terrible fate on his daughter. Naruto's face darkened. Yeah, dear old dad could not protect his daughter from all the way up there and let her be turned into a tree right before she died. But that isn't fair. It wasn't the little girl's fault. Percy said, and Naruto nodded. Grover hesitated. Percy, children of the big three have powers greater than other half-bloods. They have a strong aura, a scent that attracts monsters. When Hades found out about the girl, he wasn't too happy about Zeus breaking his oath. Hades let the worst monsters out of Tartarus to torment Talia. A satyr was assigned to be her keeper when she was 12, but there was nothing he could do. He tried to escort her here with a couple of other half-bloods she befriended. They almost made it. They got all the way to the top of that hill. He pointed across the valley, to the pine tree where they had fought the Minotaur. All 3 kindly ones were after them, along with a horde of hellhounds. They were about to be overrun when Talia told her satyr to take the other 2 half-bloods to safety while she held off the monsters. She was wounded and tired, and she didn't want to live like a hunted animal. The satyr didn't want to leave her, but he couldn't change her mind, and he had to protect the others. So Talia made her final stand alone, at the top of that hill. As she died, Zeus took pity on her. He turned her into that pine tree. Her spirit still helps protect the borders of the valley. That's why the hill is called Half-Blood Hill. Percy stared at the pine in the distance and he noticed that Naruto was clenching his fists. The story made him feel hollow. A girl his age had sacrificed herself to save her friends. She had faced a whole army of monsters. Next to that, their victory over the Minotaur didn't seem like much. He wondered if he'd acted differently, could he have saved his mother? Grover, Percy said, did heroes really gone on quests to the underworld? Sometimes, he said. Orpheus. Hercules. Houdini. And have they ever returned somebody from the dead? No. Never. Orpheus came close. Percy, you're not seriously thinking. No, he lied. I was just wondering. So, a satyr is always assigned to guard a demigod? Before Grover could answer, Naruto piped in. Percy, I know how you feel, but you can't really revive someone that is dead. I know a ninja that did and he was truly a madman. What do you mean, I know how you feel? Percy asked. I have wanted to revive my parents for a long time, but when I heard what Orochimaru had done, I took back my idea of doing that. What did he do? Grover asked, now curious. When he was fighting his old teacher, Old Man Hokage, he summoned the long-dead first and second Hokage by sacrificing the bodies of his students. You see, to revive someone, you have to kill someone in return. Naruto explained and he saw horrified looks on his two friends. So please, don't even try it. I won't, Percy said, shaky because of that story. Grover decided to change the subject by answering Percy's question. We are not always assigned that way. We go undercover to a lot of schools. We try to sniff out the half-bloods who have the makings of great heroes. If we find one with a very strong aura, like a child of the big three, we alert Chiron. He tries to keep an eye on them, since they could cause really huge problems. And you found me and then Naruto. Chiron said you thought me and Naruto might be something special. Grover looked as if Percy had just led him into a trap, and Naruto smirked. Grover had been caught. I didn't. Oh, listen, don't think like that. If you were, you know, you'd never ever be allowed a quest, and I'd never get my license. You're probably a child of Hermes. Or maybe even one of the minor gods, like Nemesis, the goddess of revenge. Don't worry, okay? Really, Grover, Nemesis? Percy is not that vengeful, now Sasuke might be, and if he is, I would not be surprised. Naruto said, while the other two shudder, they knew about Sasuke and his obsession with power and revenge. What about me? You seem to be good at making stuff, so would say you are related to the Smith god. You have a point. Naruto said thoughtfully. Heh, or the goddess of love. Percy said with a smirk, but Naruto just looked at him confused. Is he that clueless? Scene change. At last, it was time for capture the flag. When the plates were cleared away, the conch horn sounded and we all stood at our tables. Campers yelled and cheered as Annabeth and two of her siblings ran into the pavilion carrying a silk banner. It was about 10 feet long, glistening gray, with a painting of a barn owl above an olive tree. From the opposite side of the pavilion, Clarice and her buddies ran in with another banner of identical size but gaudy red, painted with a bloody spear and a boar's head. Ah, so those must be the flags. Naruto stated. Yeah. He heard Luke say. Ares and Athena always lead the teams. Percy asked. Not always, Luke said. But often. So, if another cabin captures one, what do you do, repaint the flag? Percy asked. Luke grinned. You'll see. First we have to get one. Whose side are we on? Naruto asked. Luke gave them a sly look that combined with his scar, made him look evil in the torchlight. We've made a temporary alliance with Athena. Tonight, we get the flag from Ares. And the two of you are going to help. The teams were announced. Athena had made an alliance with Apollo and Hermes, the two biggest cabins. Apparently, privileges had been traded, shower times, chore schedules, the best slots for activities, in order to win support. Ares had allied themselves with everybody else, Dionysus, Demeter, Aphrodite, and Hephaestus. From what Naruto seen, Dionysus's kids were actually good athletes, but there were only 2 of them. Demeter's kids had the edge with nature skills and outdoor stuff but they weren't very aggressive. Aphrodite's sons and daughters they weren't too worried about. They mostly sat out every activity and checked their reflections in the lake and did their hair and gossiped. Hephaestus's kids weren't pretty and there were only 4 of them, but they were big and burly from working in the metal shop all day. They might be a problem. That of course, left Ares's cabin, a dozen of the biggest, ugliest, meanest kids on Long Island, or anywhere else on the planet. All in all, Naruto thought he was have some real fun today. Chiron hammered his hoof on the marble. Heroes, he announced. You know the rules. The creek is the boundary line. The entire forest is fair game. All magic items are allowed. The banner must be prominently displayed, and have no more than 2 guards. Prisoners may be disarmed, but may not be bound or gagged. No killing or maiming is allowed. I will serve as referee and battlefield medic. Arm yourselves. He spread his hands, and the tables were suddenly covered with equipment, helmets, bronze swords, spears, ox-hide shields coated in metal. Whoa, Percy said in surprise. We're really supposed to use these? Luke looked at him as if Percy had gone crazy. Unless you want to get skewered by your friends in cabin 5. Here, Chiron thought these would fit. You'll be on border patrol. While Luke was fitting Percy with Greek armor, Naruto was chuckling to himself, man, this reminds of the Chunin exams, I just hope nothing bad happens. He then took out a scroll and out popped a set of ANBU gear that he got himself before his mission to get Sasuke, but was unable to put it on. People looked at him oddly before shrugging it off, already used to Naruto oddities. Okay, I got to ask. Where did you get those? Percy asked. I stole them before I left home. I couldn't use them on the mission before I got here, cause I would have gotten busted. Okay then, you might be Hermes' kid now. Percy deadpanned while Luke smirked. Naruto decided to humor them by putting on a Greek helmet with the blue fur on top because blue was for Athena's side. Annabeth yelled, Blue team, forward. The group cheered and shook their swords and followed her down the path to the south woods. The red team yelled taunts at them as they headed off toward the north. Percy though wondered why his blonde friend did not take out his weapon. Not that he knew that Naruto was armed with so many weapons those of Ares' cabin would be envy of him. Percy made his way to the Annabeth without tripping all over his armor and said, Hey. Though she just kept on marching. So what's the plan? He asked. Got any magic items you can loan me? Naruto noticed that her hand was hovering over her pocket when his friend asked that. Quirking an eyebrow, he decided to get in more to eavesdrop. Just watch Clarissa's spear, she said. You don't want that thing touching you. Otherwise, don't worry. We'll take the banner from Ares. Has Luke given you your job? Nice to know. Naruto's voice said from above them. They knew he was probably tree hopping, so they were not worried. Border patrol, same as Naruto, whatever that means. It's easy. Stand by the creek, keep the Reds away. Leave the rest to me. Athena always has a plan. She said as he pushed ahead, leaving him in the dust. Okay, Percy mumbled. Glad you wanted me on your team. Naruto jumped down next to him, scaring him and a few others. Don't worry about it, patrol is an important task as well. Besides, if you are lucky, you might be able to fight. Gee thanks. Percy rolled his eyes. As Naruto jumped farther ahead he heard Annabeth ask, You sure he isn't related to Ares? Scene change. Day had turned to night by now as Naruto and Percy were stationed next to a little creek that gurgled over some rocks. Then she and the rest of the team scattered into the trees. The two stood there for a little bit and groaned. I get it, border patrol is out of the way, so newbies like us won't their way. Naruto growled. He needed to do something. Smirking he got an idea. He performed his favorite jutsu just as a horn sounded and they heard whoops from enemy territory. While he left a shadow clone to watch over Percy, he went into the forest to have some fun with some fellow campers. Soon he came upon a few Demeter and Aphrodite kids and smirked. He made a hand sign as he jumped down behind them. He then made a grunt and they looked over to him and their eyes widened in fear. For what they saw was the Minotaur. Armored head to hooves and carried a large battle axe. He advanced on them causing them to scream and run. Oh yeah, that was fun. He then got the memories of the clone he left with Percy, it dispelled itself right as Clarisse attacked Percy. Wow, she really must be gunning for him. He wondered aloud as he jumped to where Percy was, only behind a tree so he could surprise them. Landing on a tree branch, he watched as Percy did his best against Clarisse and her friends. Ah, so her spear has lightning fused with it, ouch. Give him a haircut, Clarisse said. Grab his hair. Percy managed to get to his feet. He raised his sword, but Clarice slammed it aside with her spear as sparks flew. Now both of his arms felt numb. Oh, wow, Clarice said. I'm scared of this guy. Really scared. The flag is that way, Percy told her. He meant to sound angry, but Naruto and the others heard it differently. If the situation was different, the blonde would have laughed. Yeah, one of her siblings said. But see, we don't care about the flag. We care about a guy who made our cabin look stupid. You do that without my help, Percy growled out, and he instantly regretted it because it was probably the dumbest thing to say at the moment. Two of them came at Percy. He backed up toward the creek, tried to raise his shield, but Clarice too fast. Her spear stuck him straight in the ribs. If he hadn't been wearing an armored breastplate, he would have been shish kebabbed. It still hurt like hell because the point got through and shocked him. One of her cabin mates slashed his sword across his arm, leaving a good-sized cut. No maiming, Percy got out, feeling dizzy. Now Naruto had enough, so he decided to even the odds a little. He bit his thumb. Oops, the guy said. Guess I lost my dessert privilege. They then pushed Percy into the lake, which was a mistake for them. Summoning jutsu. Bring down the house. Bring down the what? Ah! One of the Ares kids yelled. A large orange toad wearing a blue vest landed right on top of the kid, pinning him down. The toad looked confused before Naruto jumped down and landed on the toad's head. The toads looked up and was shocked. Naruto, is that you? It's me, Gamakichi. Naruto raised a brow. Wow, buddy, you got big. But less chit-chat, more combat. Where the hell were you? He heard Percy, who looked all healed up now, scaring off their reinforcements. Naruto said with a dumb grin, damn it. One the Ares kid said. Get the frog. Who are you calling a frog? Then Gamakichi swelled his cheeks and spat out a stream of water that sent the loudmouth camper into the forest and out of sight. Two Ares kids rushed Percy and he swung away their blades before he punched one in the gut and then kicked the other in the face. He was so glad Naruto taught him how to fight better. Naruto jumped off Gamakichi and got his blades ready. The other Ares kids rushed Naruto, who just smirked as he blocked the first two sword strikes before he jumped higher than one of the Ares kid. Naruto then placed his foot on the back of that kid's helmeted head and kick off, sending that kid to the ground. Naruto used the momentum to launch a kick at the other Ares camper. He raised a shield and blocked Naruto's kick. He was forced back, sliding while Naruto landed nicely. Naruto suddenly launched a single maul kick that caught the other Ares camper, that recovered and tried to attack from behind. The kid was sent into the air and came down hard. Naruto sidestepped a thrust from the other camper's spear and Naruto pivoted around and slammed his elbow right into the Ares kid's elbow. He screamed in pain and was forced to drop his spear. He was then punched in the face, was knocked out. Naruto looked back at Clarice and gave her a "come on" gesture with one of his hands, sword still in it. Not wanted to miss out on a new battle, she charged the blonde ninja. Clarice attacked with her spear, the sparks forming from her lightning tip. The spear made it mark only for Naruto to poof into smoke, to be replaced with a now partly smoking log. Her eye went wide and Percy, using her distraction, and came up and sliced the blade of the spear off. She looked back at Percy, to a sword in her face and a kunai at her neck, again. It was just like last time with Naruto. Better luck next time, warrior princess. Naruto said into her ear, making her blush again. Then they heard yelling, elated screams, and they saw Luke racing toward the boundary line with the red team's banner lifted high. He was flanked by a couple of Hermes guys covering his retreat, and a few Apollo kids behind them, fighting off the Hephaestus kids. The Ares folks got up, and Clarice muttered a dazed curse. A trick! She shouted. It was a trick. They staggered after Luke, but it was too late. Everybody converged on the creek as Luke ran across into friendly territory. The blue side exploded into cheers. The red banner shimmered and turned to silver. The boar and spear were replaced with a huge caduceus, the symbol of Cabin 11. Everybody on the blue team picked up Luke and started carrying him around on their shoulders. Chiron cantered out from the woods and blew the conch horn. The game was over. They had won. The boys were about to join the celebration when Annabeth's voice, right next to them in the creek, said, "Not bad, hero, you too, Mr. Ninja." Percy looked around but should not see her. She took off the cap she was wearing and said, "Where the heck did you learn to fight like that?" Percy was at first shocked before he pointed to Naruto, who just grinned cheekily. "You set us up. You put us here because you knew Clarice would come after me, while you sent Luke around the flank. You had it all figured out." Annabeth shrugged. "I told you. Athena always has a plan. A plan to get me pulverized. I came as fast as I could. I was about to jump in, but..." She shrugged. "You didn't need help, Naruto came in pretty quick with that huge toad. So that is what you meant back then." Annabeth then looked at Percy's arm. "How did you do that?" "Sword cut," Percy said. "What do you think?" "No. It was a sword cut. Look at it." "Well, will you look at that?" Naruto commented as they saw that it was healed up. I don't get it," Percy said, shocked. The blood was gone. Where the huge cut had been, there was a long white scratch, and even that was fading, it turned into a small scar, and disappeared. Annabeth was thinking hard. She looked down at his feet, then at Clarice's broken spear, and said, "Step out of the water, Percy." "What? Just do it." Sighing, he got out and looked bone dry. He also looked to have the adrenaline rush gone that he had when fighting. So he fell, but Annabeth and Naruto quickly supported him. "Oh, sticks," she cursed. "This is not good. I didn't want. I assumed it would be Zeus." Naruto looked at her oddly before he got it as well, but he did not have much time to voice his thoughts because he heard a growl before a loud howl ripped through the forest. The campers' cheering died instantly. Chiron shouted something in ancient Greek, which Naruto and Percy somehow knew it was, "Stand ready. My bow." Annabeth drew her dagger. There on the rocks just above them was a black hound the size of a rhino, with lava-red eyes and fangs like daggers, and it was looking straight at Percy. Annabeth told him to run, but he was frozen in fear at this beast, so she stood in front of him. That didn't do much because it simply jumped over her and landed right in front of Percy. He fell on his armor but as it slashed at him and snarled, showing its many teeth to the young boy. By this point, Naruto stepped in, Rasengan. He drove the large ball of swirl energy into the stomach, making it cry out in agonizing pain before he sent the beast flying into a large rock. Jumping away, he cursed as he saw the wound on the beast, healing up, just like with the Minotaur. "Screw this." He grabbed his bows and fitted 2 arrows onto it. The hellhound was back on its feet and faced Naruto, only to cry in pain again. Naruto's arrows hit each of its eye before another was sent down its throat. It fell dead. "Whoa," said one of the younger Ares campers. There was a murmuring of whispers on how the heck Naruto had done that. Chiron trotted up next Percy and Naruto as the giant toad hopped over to his buddy. "Nice shot, Naruto. Who knew you had good aim?" "The immortals," Annabeth said. "That's a hellhound from the fields of punishment." They're not supposed to." "Someone summoned it," Chiron said. "Someone inside the camp." Luke came over, the banner in his hand forgotten, his moment of glory gone. Clarice yelled, "It's all Percy's fault. Percy summoned it." "Be quiet, child," Chiron told her. They watched as what remained of the body of the hellhound melt into shadow, soaking into the ground until it disappeared. "You're wounded," Annabeth told Percy. "Quick, Percy, get in the water." "I'm okay." "No, you're not," she said. "Chiron, watch this." Percy was too tired to argue. He stepped back into the creek, the whole camp gathering around him. He instantly looked a lot better and the cut on his chest healed up like nothing had happened. "Look, I don't know why," he said, trying to apologize. "I'm sorry." But they were not watching that. He saw that their eyes, Naruto included, were above his head. "Percy," Annabeth said, pointing upward. By the time he looked up, the sign was already fading, but he could still make out the hologram of green light, spinning and gleaming. A 3-tipped spear, a trident. "Your father," Annabeth murmured. "This is really not good." "It is determined," Chiron announced. All around him, campers started kneeling, even the Ares cabin, though they didn't look happy about it. Of course, Naruto didn't even if he was grinning and happy for his friend, making Percy feel better, because this was just awkward. "My father?" Percy asked, completely bewildered. "Poseidon," said Chiron. Earthshaker, Stormbringer, father of horses. Hail, Perseus Jackson, son of the sea god. Percy looked to Naruto for help, but gasped as he saw 4 images above Naruto. Everyone looked where he was and their jaws dropped. Above Naruto were 4 symbols. The bottom one, larger than the other 3, was that of a large sliver crescent moon, the symbol of Artemis. The other 3 were a caduceus, and in one was several flowers, and the top one was a hearth. "O great Pan, Artemis, goddess of the hunt," Grover announced, "but why the others?" "The caduceus is Hermes, god of those who use the road, and the others are Persephone, goddess for springtime, queen of the underworld, and the last is Hestia, eldest of the gods and goddess of the hearth and home," Chiron said with a grim face. "Naruto Uzumaki is the son of Artemis and is related to Hermes, Persephone and Hestia." "Holy crap!" came a voice from the crowd, pretty much saying what was on all their minds. Naruto said in a thinking pose, making it almost comical. "My mom being goddess of the wildness would probably explain why I have this power that lets me talk to Talia in her tree." Silence. "What?" everyone in the camp screamed. "I said that out loud, didn't I?" That's it for part 2. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.